if you are looking to, I don't think you can copy Boston's style. If you go just strictly 3 point shooting, you're making a mistake. The fact of the matter is, Boston only shot 34% in the conference finals from three and 33% as a team from 3 point line in the finals. You have to be able to win in multiple in different ways. It can't be just all threes. You can't. That's just not how you can't. You're not going to win it that way because the defenses get tougher. Guys are tired. Both teams are tired in that game 6, in that game 5. Long season, especially in the playoffs, 2 months. You're not going to see too many great 3 point shooting performances in the NBA Finals. And you look at the last 5. Look at the last 5 champions. You got Boston. You go Boston. Last year, of course, Denver. Year before, Golden State. Then before that, Milwaukee. Then LA in the bubble. Those teams did not win the championship because of those teams were not dominant 3 point shooting teams. None of them. They occasionally got hot during the playoffs, made threes, but for the most part, those teams were physical. Those teams pounded you in the paint. Those teams played great defense in the particular final series. The Denver's defense was tremendous in the finals last year. Milwaukee, excellent defensive team. Golden State, excellent defensive team. And of course, the Lakers were excellent, great defensively under Frank Vogel. And at the peak, this is where Anthony Davis and LeBron are 2 top 5 players at that point in 2020. You're not going to overwhelm people offensively. This was not a great offensive series for Boston. I thought everybody talks about Dallas's defense. I thought Dallas's defense was fine in the series, to be honest with you. Their defense was not the problem. The problem was they only scored 100 points one time in 5 games, and they lost every game where they scored under 100. Outside that game 4, where they scored 122, and that game got away from Boston in the first half, basically the first quarter, down by 13. Dallas couldn't score. You give that Boston all the credit. You're not going to be able to copy their style of play. What you can copy from Boston is not listening to the outside noise. I heard for the last 2 to 3 years, break up Tatum and Brown. I heard that nonsense, that bullshit for the last 3 years. Brad Stevens, give him all the credit in the world because there were some trades that were out there. There were trades that he could have made for Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, and Anthony Davis and moved off Jaylen Brown. There were trades out there that Brad Stevens could have made, but they stayed patient. And Jaylen Brown is legitimately one of the top 15 players in the world right now. It's not top 10. Let's not get crazy. He's top 15. And they have 2 of the most valuable assets that you can have in the NBA. They have 2 guys, 6'6" and above, wing players that can play both ends, that are legitimate top 2-way players. That is what you're looking for. When you're drafting, that is what you're looking for. Who can play, who can guard multiple positions, who can be a playmaker and do the types of things that those guys do. Scoring, rebounding, playmaking, and what have you. Tatum was already there as a playmaker, scorer. Brown improved this year. Tatum and those guys are legit, not top defensive players, but above average defensive players. Brown could have been an all-NBA defensive player this year. He played that well defensively. And that's probably the reason why he won Finals MVP, because of his defense against Luka in this series. I think those being patient and also sticking with a duo. Look at 3 of the last 4 champions. You get Tatum, Brown, Joker, Murray, Middleton, Giannis. Those teams stuck with Middleton, stuck with Murray, stuck with Brown. If you get a duo, you're not going to build a super team like Golden State has. That's not happening in today's era. You saw what happened in Phoenix. They tried it. It was a disaster this year. That big 3 era is done. And I think me and Rob Sapp talked about that 2 years ago, that when the Brooklyn thing blew up, that was a sign that, hey, the NBA is going in a different direction. With the cap space and this second apron, and some of these penalties with the salary cap and the way it is right now, you can afford to pay 2 players super max money, and you have to figure the rest of your roster out with drafting, player development. You have to hit home runs. You have to be, more importantly, you have to have player development. Brown and Tatum have gotten better. Sure, they added Drew Holiday. Sure, they add KP, but they're not in a position to add those players if they don't develop their own draft picks and their own players. Like Marcus Smart became a valuable trade asset because he developed in Boston. If you want to copy anything from Boston, copy patience, player development, and you get a chance to nail those draft picks, those top 5 draft picks. They nailed back-to-back years when they got those picks from Brooklyn. They nailed Brown as a number 3 pick, and they nailed Tatum. They nailed Tatum and Brown.